Well, greetings, race fans, and hopefully we should now have what we need in terms of game sound, visuals, and everything running as before. This is Zen. We are riding on board with Zen around the long Saint Croix A configuration for today's round 5 of the championship, the season 4.1 GTDPro division. And in terms of the standings, we find Nismo leading us. We find Nismo leading us ahead of Junkai and Zen, with Zanshin in 4th place, Glovas riding in 5th. Team Chameleon lead the combined team standings, and Team Karate Tortoises are there with the 2nd place. Team Universal are in 3rd, and Team Cannonball in 4th place. We're about to start a lap though, on board with Zen. He's managed to find a good amount of working room here, and the drivers are really going to have to go for it here to try and get their qualifying laps in time. It's a long old lap, so they can't hang around in the pits. The last driver has left the pit lane, but somewhat late in the order. Let's just see who that was. It was indeed Glovas, so I'm sure Glovas, person of his level of experience, will have calculated this correctly, but hopefully there. So Pat just telling me that game audio is there, but tad low. My voice is fine. Okay, thank you so much. I'm just going to up the game audio a little bit for you then. I appreciate all the feedback. Thank you so much. I'll get all these levels sorted, and the seems to be the correct order of starting up everything, which seems to guarantee me a much better run. Zen just clipping the inside line there on the way through. Looks like Berman has got ahead, and Zen has decided to go back into the pits. So we'll ride with Berman as we try. They're going to do this to me, aren't they? Here we go. It's Nismo next then, as we will run in towards turns 1 and 2. Qualifying is only 10 minutes long. I don't think Zen and Berman are going to be able to get around and set their laps before the time limit elapses. We'll have to see, but I don't think there's quite the length of extension after the flag that we were hoping for. I'm back into the pits again. So this is somewhat of a strange situation here for the drivers. Hi to Kuroskai and to Jim, as well as to Pat, for joining us and telling us who they are and that they're watching on with us. Unfortunately, in the UK, we haven't yet switched our clocks around, so we haven't followed the US. We are about 2 weeks behind you guys, and I had a bit of a mad scramble to get here on time, so I must reset my calendar appointments to the specific Deviant Racing ones and set them to EST. Yes, double apologies for today, but we will persist and try and do our best here. Komakopa we have on board, and you could always set up a second screen and have Komakopa's live stream visible. I will hope to get that ready for you one day and have that running picture, but for now, just tune in on a second screen and support Komakopa's channel as well. But we're here for season 4.1's round 5 of the 7-round championship, so things are looking quite close to completion here for this season. Saint Croix, a very long technical street circuit spread over a very large distance. Currently enjoying a clear day with a southeasterly wind of 4.2 meters per second. Fairly strong wind here, in fact, and a very complicated race track layout we have for you. It's really going to challenge the drivers. I think Komakopa was telling me earlier on, it's a real difficulty to get a decent amount of laps in for the fuel tank. So somewhat hard for everybody here. Haven't had a safety car announcement yet on safety car lap. I don't know if anyone is listening in that is managing to watch at the same time live. You can let me know. But soft tyres on board. Nismo has already put his hard tyres on, I think perhaps preparing for the race and not being able to get a full lap in here. This is Komakopa. He has been able to persist and get that lap down. He is starting another lap then. And goes through. Berman has a 304.699 on the board. Copa 316 at this stage. Let's join Camzilla, who has done with his laps. He's just crossed the line. And then we find that Mercury just in front of Floody here, currently P8. And Floody manages to stay 8th, only some 3 seconds off the pace at this early point. Izzy has finished his run, and we are pretty much done then. The driver's unable to proceed any further. Nismo, having used 1 litre of fuel, it seems, is in 2nd position, but it is about Berman here in the all-new Pike Fitness livery that takes the pole position by 0.7 of a second, which is going to be fantastic. As Kuros Kai says, safety car will be only 1 lap and the pit lane will not be closed. I had read that earlier in the week and had completely forgotten it, so thank you so much, Kai, for the info. It's been Mr. Helpful this week, especially to my driving. And we have Nismo then for the Karate Tortoises qualifying in 2nd position and heading our championship. Former teammate, no longer, now rivals here, Zen, is in that P3 in the Ferrari, and Comacopa managed to post it into 4th place. I imagine we're going to run out of time here for Comacopa, but he's on a personal best, not a session best, in this qualifying time. And Jim has let me know that safety car will be on lap 5, which doesn't sound very far into the race, but I imagine it will be when we actually get down to it with 3 minutes plus laps. We're going to be deep into the race. No doubt. Great to be back here with you. Great to be back live as well, albeit with a couple of technical issues at the start. But yeah, hopefully all of those are behind us for now. Balance is okay. It's quite loud in my ear, the track audio, so I'll try and fix that maybe, because yeah, it's a little bit strong for me. So I'm going to see what I can do about feedback through my own sound. But yeah, I look forward to the race. We're just still riding on board with Comacopa, who appears to think he's still got enough time to improve on his lap before the timer runs out. Post qualifying, we're into 2.5 minutes post the qualifying 10 for the session. He's into the final sector now, and it doesn't look like this lap is going to be the special one for our Frenchman by way of the United States, but our Frenchman here, born just outside Le Mans. Certainly, if racing isn't in his blood, it's certainly in the air he was breathing from an early age. Comacopa crosses the line 1/10 of a second slower than he'd been before, but still in that 4th place. Larry in 5th at this stage. Let's have a look then at the final qualifying times. 3:04.699 for S. Berman, who's managed a very, very good time there for Pike Fitness. The Karate Tortoises lead driver Nismo in P2, with Zen in P3. Comacopa is 4th, followed by Larry and Don't Need Time, with Camzilla in 7th and Glovas in the middle position of P8. Floody's 9th, Izzy's 10th, Preston, Mercury and Junkai will race in that order, with Saito taking us through into the safety car. It looks like the Chameleons have decided to go for fake safety cars today. So the Genesis X GR3 will be looking somewhat like the official safety car. That's going to be very, very interesting situation for us. But we still have 60 minutes of racing ahead of us, followed, of course, by the GTD race just a few minutes after this one. So hopefully we will be able to get ourselves underway for you very, very shortly. 60 minutes safety car lap 5 with an increasingly strong wind that is moving slightly to the east. So that should be very interesting. Forces a stop after the safety car for some, with good racing and strategy, says Jim. So he's pretty pumped about today's option here. Hopefully, we'll see if the drivers feel like they can get 5 laps out of a tank of fuel, 5 laps plus half a lap on the safety car. What the decision is with regard to tyres. The mandatory tyres, hard and medium, and we have just seconds to go before we go trackside for the next round of our championship. Let me know your podium predictions if you're watching live. I'd love to hear them. And of course, you get reducing amounts of kudos the later you leave it. So Let's get ourselves some decent camera work, some decent information on screen as well. We will try and give you traditional replays as well. The cars are ready. The revs will start to build as the lights come on. It's time for an hour's racing around St. Croix for round 5 of the championship, and it's dropped the clutch and go, go, go. Looks pretty good from the start, but it's Zen who screams into an early lead in the Ferrari, gets the nose ahead, although he hasn't got the inside line going into turn 1. Let's see if S. Berman can defend that inside line. No, Zen with a magical start on the hard tyres, no less, screams into second place with former teammate Nismo now battling the pole position rider of Berman. Round the long way, round the outside they go, but the next two will be a left-hander for Nismo. Will he be able to hold his line here? He seems to be on that inside. Berman tried to close it out, it didn't quite work, but we've got a spinner. We've got a spinner, and it might, I think it is going to be, unfortunately, is it Komakopa or Izzy who have spun early doors? I think it was Komakopa who had a problem. Let's try and catch that in the replay here. There he is, just a little bit of throttle oversteer and using Camzilla to hold the line. Now he gets squeezed between two Team America Vipers, and Komakopa with a real panic moment there, but he's managed to save it. So still in the order that they were into turn 1 and 2. Zen, Nismo and Berman. Larry up into P4 and showing well, but also on the hard tyres. Looks like the drivers have all decided to go hard to start with and get through to that first safety car period and then decide their strategy from there on in. Don't Need Time is not a safety car driver. This is perhaps the most convincing and confusing of options here for Team Chameleons. Komakopa's in 6th with Camzilla in 7th. Unfortunately, the driver that Komakopa came into contact with running through the double left-hander was Floody, I believe, who's then been deposed down. Izzy's in 8th, Glovas in 9th place. We have Mercury in 10th in the Ferrari, Preston 11th, Floody down to 12th place. We've got one driver on soft tyres. It's Preston. Preston in the Lexus has gone for the softs early on and needs to start making some overtakes really, really fast. Junkai at the back of the grid, but probably because he hasn't practiced and picking up a track limit penalties, which I imagine will be rife today. Zen into the lead of the race in the all-new liveried Team Amazon. Avoid that wall, but Larry manages to brush the wall on the way onto the bridge. This bridge section is difficult whichever direction you're driving it. But yes, just rubbing that inside wall, which will not help with the car's integrity. No visible or notified damage there on the car for Larry, so that's a relief as we head on through in towards the final sector of the lap. Don't Need Time's in 5th. We've got Komakopa driving. Remember, driving in the VR system as is Izzy for Team Cannonball. At least I don't know anybody else who's doing that. And there is Izzy in the tricolor French flag themed car for Team Cannonball today. So we've got Preston in 11th, we've got Floody still in 12th position ahead of Junkai, and we've got Saito heading towards the pit lane. Alexandra says, Junkai never practices, even you know that. Indeed, although I did see rumours of it last season, that's somewhat contentious. Certainly, he claims not to practice. Larry looks like he had a little moment coming out of the first corner there. Let's see what that felt like with Larry. Did he lose the car on traction? Certainly a lot of understeer. Yeah, just holding it. So getting a little bit lively there for our Karate Tortoises, Raf. And it's Don't Need Time. It's actually allowed him to sneak his way up the inside. It wasn't quite big enough space for Don't Need Time, but he went for it anyway. Larry holding off with the elbows out and trying to hold that position for the Karate Tortoises. Starting better this week than last race is Larry. Nismo's up there as usual, and we'll cycle through and see where everybody else is fighting. Looks like Mercury down the inside of Preston, or defending hard, getting down that inside line into sector 3 of the 5 sector racetrack here. Izzy cutting a very, very fine line there through the corner, and perhaps just offline slightly, not able to compete at this stage, and he's getting absolutely crowded out as the losing momentum around the corner means that he's got problems. In fact, I'm wondering if there is a bigger problem. He's put the hazard lights on. There's no damage on the car, but I wonder if he's headed towards the pit lane for repairs or to retire the car. He's certainly going a lot slower than he should at this stage, unless he's clicked the accidentally clicked the fuel mix. No, he seems to be lagging. I think Izzy is actually not in control of his vehicle. Is temporarily disconnected. Let's hope that things improve for him, because that's driving at a much reduced pace for Izzy. Nismo in second position, then has mirrors full of the pole position driver Berman here. Let's ride on board with Berman, or maybe let's sit in the passenger seat that is not fully secured to the ground as we try and look at every apex. This the closest idea to the motion that VR drivers experience and sensation of speed, although of course you can use your mirrors to great effect. But Berman then following in those wheel tracks of Nismo. I imagine Berman quite happy with the position that he's in at this stage, and able to certainly get a purple sector there. And it's but it is still lap 2. Forgive me, I can't believe it's still lap 2 and we're 6 minutes deep into the race. Heading then through in towards the final corner, the lavender fields on the outside of this French circuit. Berman then following along. Nismo getting that little bit of oversteer again. The driver's still struggling with those hard tyres, but Berman with some good speed, and he picks up a best lap of the session so far. That is a 3 minute and 8.255. Excuse me. He's going to go even faster in comparison to the driver in front, because Nismo just went wide coming through turn 1. And streaking into the lead of the race. Let's see that from Nismo's perspective as we go out onto the grass. And quite easy in the end it was for S. Berman to recover one position. He's lost 2 from the start, but he's recovered 1 and got himself into that all-important hunt for the podium. And he can now reel in Zen. You know the speed is in the car when he got it in qualifying, but the car now heavy on fuel. Reminder that the drivers are trying to get 5 or 6 laps out of this run of a tank of fuel. Long old lap for the unusual strategy here in the GTD run. P4 is Larry. We know Alexandra is watching. I hope Gus is watching too. But Larry in P4. Then we've got Don't Need Time in P5 in the fake safety car for the Chameleons. And Karmakopa still with Camzilla stalking him like crazy. New livery here for Karmakopa as well. And going full metallic and every colour in the box there as Camzilla chases him down. Here he is, Camzilla with a better run out of the all-important right-hander that leads on to the longest straight before a big stop to the left and right. Perhaps not quite open enough for an overtake. He's taking a narrow line to try and get on the throttle as early as he can. But he's lost all the momentum he had earlier on. And looking behind, there is another safety car Genesis of Glovas now directly behind him. As Alexandra says, Gus is waving to me. Fantastic. Good to have you back with us, Gus. I hope you'll stick around for the race, and especially for the livery reveal. And you can tell me, Gus, what gets a double Gus thumbs up, which livery is the best today. That'll be fantastic. Glovas then in that safety car livery for the Genesis in P8. Preston in P9 as the drivers go across the bridge now. This is Floody in P10, and we have Junkai up from the back into 11th place. Mercury dropping down, and Izzy, as I said before, who was flashing those hazard lights and driving slowly. I think he might have picked up the pace again, and hopefully is back in control of the car. Maybe had to restart some equipment or resettle his VR helmet. It does happen, and mechanical issues do befall our drivers, as well as more environmental issues to do with people needing things in the house. So we shall see. Arcane says, hi guys. Hi to Arcane as the top 3 come through to complete lap 3 and start lap 4, the penultimate one before we're expecting that safety car. And you have a look at the fuel tanks here as the the fuel is burning off considerably quickly. The top three, though, getting away somewhat from the rest of the field, but leaning on that outside tyre as they go into turn one, and certainly come out of turn one. Berman almost doing what Nismo did the previous lap, and Zen either pinpoint accurate or slightly marginal to the grass, but he managed to keep the momentum going. The French sunshine glinting off the beautiful metallic and glass surfaces of the cars, and running in then Zen. 0.8 of a second is his lead. 0.5, almost 0.6 of a second is Berman's gap back to P3, and Larry some 2.5 seconds further back. But it's relatively academic, with every driver being on the same strategy, with one exception. And I just need to remind myself which driver that exception was, as certainly the focus on the camera didn't seem to like watching the front three come through just then. And we've got Comacopa in P6 with Camzilla in 7th, Glovas in that 8th position, John Kai in 9th, Floody in 10th, and we've got Mercury in 11th. I think it might have been Izzy on the softs, was it? Or was it in fact Preston? It was Preston on the softs, and he's been in already and changed tyres. Alexandra says Gus likes Larry's and John Kai's livery is the best today. Okay, so he's a fan of the Trolls, is he, for Team Universal? They are certainly very bright and colourful. I like what they've done with the Amazon team. I'm not quite sure what part of Amazon they're repping with the blue and green fronts, but I'm still here for it. I'm enjoying the changes. And Team Pipe Fitness obviously sick of me complaining that the liveries are not being updated or changed slightly, and have definitely gone full change. We'll have a really good look at that during the safety car period. The top three, Zen, Berman and Nismo, as they were before, and now just trying to get the cars running light as possible on the fuel, and for as long as possible. Certainly open up the strategy later on in the race, but we are going to be the very early stage of the race here for the safety car. It will be in the first quarter of the race, so it will open up opportunities later on. I think the drivers might elect to use the mediums if the cars are fuel limited rather than tyre limited more than once. Someone will probably try it. Here is Berman then, with that new pink accent front of the Lexus, coming through into start sector 5 of 5. Over the rise they go. Very different lines for our drivers coming through there, and then through around the final corner, and looking for that pit lane entry before the safety car, so getting rid of the tyres. We just got a quick glimpse of the safety car, who has now come out of the pits. So the drivers all to this point coming in prior to the safety car, and we're going to have an almost identical strategy from everybody, it seems. And coming in, perhaps Preston will go round, because he has the fresher load of fuel and the fresher tyres. This is our Saito then in the gold safety car, with all the stickers on that we require, and waiting and running a fairly lonely race at this stage. Preston, will he gain any positions? It doesn't look like it at this stage, as Saito comes through. Zen has come out of the pits with an almost full tank of fuel, but not quite. He's underfueled slightly there, thinking that it wouldn't be a full period that he'll be able to use the medium tyres for. So drivers all switching onto the mediums. A voyage of discovery here today to see what kind of longevity they will get out of the medium tyres. The wind is now a southwesterly 3.9 meters per second. Drivers in these big GT3 cars will definitely be feeling that change of wind. As Kira says, it could be an imposter in the safety car. No, it was definitely the safety car. Since the track is so long, we have one. Yeah, Arcane just updating me the same as we had earlier on. So anybody that is joining us late can read that. Zen in the lead then, and let's have a good close look at Zen's livery. I've only got one lap to do this today. Here is the green front to black fade of the special Ferrari livery with some stars on top. I think those are stars on the roof, but new green to black fade, and here then the purple to orange scheme for the Pike Fitness. You guys let me know what you think of these new liveries. I like it. I like the colour combination. I'm not convinced by the red accents still, but that's just my opinion. We have seen little change in the way of the karate tortoises lately, and that turtle wax livery, the turtle wax sticker, the turtle wax company still haven't paid for Nismo's car, it seems, and they've had to blank out the side, but it is looking correct then on Larry's car. Then we've got the safety car fakery going on for the Chameleons. Quite like this approach, but of course no lights on top, not even any stickers of lights on top. That's a slight missed opportunity maybe. Then the same for Glovas. This then is one of Gus's favourites. This is the Trolls livery for Team Universal. I like what they've done. I'm not 100% on the colours, but I do like the output eventually. I think it works especially for the theme. I look forward to seeing the Trolls livery in the GTD series coming up shortly. Then we've got Camzilla in the recently updated, but not for this race, Team America black base. We've got silver to red fade with black accents for the Pike Fitness Lexus here. New message on the roof, completely sure what it is. Don't weaken. Rogue don't weaken it says. Sorry, the camera work is proving rather difficult the way it keeps changing for me. Anyway, then we've got the Trolls livery in the Porsche as we saw earlier on for the Universal, and towards then the grey base, and I'm now informed the Washington Commanders W on the front of Floodie's car. So Team America Viper, but with the grey base, and there's the blue nose and black base of Team Amazon with the Prime Video colour scheme and stars on the roof here for Mercury. Finally, we have a very French special for Izzy, and he's got all the French stickers out, or at least a baguette and Pink Panther here for Team Cannonball. So we'll have to ask. We're going to have to ask Copa whether that is honouring or taking the mickey of the French culture. But we're getting ready then for the safety car to come in. It is blink and you miss it for the safety car today. As Zen will cross the line, and he will get to go green as soon as he hits the line, and we will get going with. Just over 2/3 of our race still to go. Looks like medium tyres for the majority of the drivers, and we are green for the remainder of our race. Then safety car out of the way, the full course caution is done, and they come through to tackle turn 1. Looks like some manoeuvres going on already into the corner. That's Copa getting the elbows out to try and find the space there to make an overtake. Glovas following through, but it's don't need time is being deposed by both drivers as they go 3 wide into the right-hander. This will become two back-to-back left-handers in a moment. Will Copa be able to sweep across the nose? Don't need time, holds on, steers Copa towards the outside, makes him go the longest distance possible around the corner, and don't need time somehow managed to hold on to that one, despite the fact that he was under threat from 2 different cars. Don't need time on the medium tyres. Copa likewise. Looks like everybody has switched onto those mediums. Let's check out Preston though, who's been doing slightly differently. He's on the hard tyres, so he should be able to go slightly longer. Although, given the fuel loads, he will end up roughly equitable when it comes to the end. But he has got the painful hard tyre phase out of the way. At this stage of the race, he'll be able to go and run the mediums later on, because he's actually only run the softs and hards, and the mediums and hards are the required compounds today. Free to use as many softs as you like, but the game will give you a penalty if you fail to run mediums or hards. We've got Izzy then running in P12. We've got Mercury in 13, as we see if anyone is going to make anything out of this restart lap. Let's go back to the top of the order. Berman exactly where he was before. Nismo chasing him down hard now though on those medium tyres that seem to be suiting the BMW a lot better than the hards did, or at least giving him some additional confidence through some of the quick corners. Taking a wider line is Nismo then to try and get on that power as early as possible. It is a very twisty section of the track, though. It won't open up an overtaking opportunity unless there's a mistake from Berman in front. Up we go towards the bridge. Caution that barrier on the right-hand side. You've got to get really close to it to maximise your exit. But if you're following another car, that is when you will have the problems then and hit the barrier on the way in. So P3, we have now officially 40 minutes to run of this race. Aussie likes the Pike edition here. Kuroskai still distrusting what he sees on the safety car. Chameleons liveries today, and that's exactly the point of why they do it. They want to create confusion among the drivers. That's Lowry going a little bit wide, and Lowry seems to have lit up a bit here as well and found some pace. Looks like the BMW definitely finding something there with those medium tyres. Just doesn't seem to connect with the hards half as well, and it could be onward karate tortoise time. Berman is close to Zen, perhaps as close as he has been since they pulled off the line at the start of lap 1. Let's see if we can have a good fight for the lead. Ozzy says not the same without me. Oh, do you mean live watching? So my apologies. I did have the flu last time, and my voice took an awful long time to improve afterwards. But you can watch the races. I did stream them out live as replays. But yes, you can still watch them. But yes, I know the live experience is still better, and I get to hang out with you guys as well in the chat, and that definitely improves the race. I know it. Here is Berman in P2. Chasing down Zen, whose brake lights were on and his front brake discs were glowing, kicking out the dust and dirt. Go Nismo and Larry in the karate tortoises as they run through this lap 7. Seem to be suffering understeer come what may. That was Nismo trying to get the car turned in, and it just didn't want to go, and he ended up making a big correction. This is a uncharacteristically quiet race so far from Nismo, but I think I was saying that in Suzuka, and he still got the job done in the end. Found some incredible pace at the end of the stints, and managed to secure a fantastic position in the end. That is a purple sector for, I think that was Berman just coming through. Just don't need time in 5th place, also on the medium tyres. Hanging on to the lead group. Earlier on in the first stint, we did see front 3 really climb away from the rest of the field. Globas there as well. Camzilla trying to keep these guys in vision. Hopefully this track suiting the Viper a little bit better than the last 2 that we've had that have been difficult for them. As Carl Macopa in P8 follows through onto the bridge we go. Preston is in 9th on the oldest tyres on the track. Didn't stop during the safety car, but did stop early and perhaps unscheduled. Then we've got Izzy racing on the mediums, and Mercury there as well. Then running in P11. Floody is P12, as Junkai is still right at the back, but hoping to launch a late race surge. I think the drivers are going to struggle to use this tank of fuel on the medium tyres. It seems like those mediums are really wearing through very, very quickly in terms of lap count, thanks to the long laps here at Saint-Croix. Heading towards the final turn we go with the lead group. Zen in front of Berman, in front of Nismo, with Larry and the 2 Genesis Team Chameleons coming through after them. So, personal best laps there from Don't Need Time. Junkai is on controller today, says Kuroskai, and I bet he hasn't practiced using the controller either. So, that is a slight disadvantage. It is easier to recover spins on a controller, and you can react faster often, especially to direct drive wheels. But it's certainly far less of an immersive and enjoyable experience, I'm sure, for Junkai. This is Larry in 4th. father of Gus. Watching on, hopefully still. But I'm sure Gus will be very keen to follow the progress of Lowry here, especially if he's fighting for a provisional podium position, as he is at the moment in that BMW Karate Tortoise livery. Run. Don't need time in 5th. He's got teammate Glovas just behind him here, who's obviously converting the chameleon liveries every week from the planned rivals, or in this case, safety car. A little bit of understeer for him as he's starting to feel those medium tyres give up. Camzilla's still there. The field spread not really increasing the way we saw on lap 1. It's just fewer incidents, I think. We saw at the start of that stint. Don't need time starting to loom fairly large in Lowry's mirrors. A little early on the throttle, had to duck back out of it again, change gear. Don't need time. Over the crest, really throws the car to the outside. Then you've got the incoming Armco barrier. Will make you feel very nervous indeed. Behind him, we've got teammate Glovas, so we won't need to worry too much that Glovas is going to do anything too silly to follow him through, unless it starts to become a coordinated manoeuvre. Usually see them cooperating well here. Larry in 4th place then, with don't need time just behind. Let's have a look where Komakopa is. He's in 8th position. A little bit on his own here. 3 seconds away from Camzilla. It's 4 seconds in front of Preston. Preston just coming through the corner there to the rear of our vision. Izzy's picked up a penalty, unfortunately, and John Kai is running in now 11th position, presumably starting to get a bit more comfortable with the controller usage. Floody in 12th and Mercury down in 13th place. So the closest battles are these for the lead and for 4th and 5th positions at this stage. It's worthwhile having a quick check on things, but Zen at the moment is able to just do enough to stay ahead of Berman, who has the speed, especially in qualifying. We've got 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Good to see in terms of balance of performance here. We haven't got the best cars, we haven't necessarily got the worst cars either across the duration of the season for our drivers to tackle. Hopefully means we end up with some really close racing. That's Nisno out on the grass and gravel again, but on a safe place to push. Oh, here comes Berman going for that inside line around the double. Triple left-hander even, very certainly a very long corner. Got a right-hander coming up. No way through just yet for him. As we ride on board with Zen. Berman, now he needs to start paying attention to Nismo. Berman got very close and I think might have taken a different line through the preceding corners. That hasn't allowed Nismo to close in. Nismo doesn't usually need a second invitation before he really goes for it, and Berman then needing to pick up the pace here and catch Zen again, who's breathing a little bit easier with just over half distance left to run. We've had 9 laps, so fairly obvious how many laps we're going to end up with. It's going to be 19, 20, 18 or 19. Berman then running around and trying to make this work, trying to get that position back and close in on the back of Zen. Over the bridge we go. It's very narrow the track at this point. Nismo just a little bit later on the brakes there than Berman. Couldn't quite get the front end of the BMW turned into the corner. Helped him into the next one slightly, but Berman has extended that gap to Nismo again. It's hot on the heels of Zen, who wasn't able to use that opportunity to put a gap on. And once Berman can start running in the slipstream, he can start saving some fuel. Whoa, dear me, big snap there from Berman on the way through. Let's just check that out again, how that felt on board. Running through, just wanting to get the power down as early as possible. Get the apex nicely, a little bit of a slide, and then whoa, we were facing the barrier there for a very, very short moment, but enough to start panicking. Into the pits comes Zen, Nismo, but Berman feels like he's got enough tyres to continue on and split this race up a little bit neater for him. I wonder if he's opening the door here for a potential hard tyre run to a finish. Certainly got the fuel on board. Let's go down and see as we run through the order. The new order is Berman, Don't Need Time, Kamzilla, Glovas in 4th, Komakopa in 5th. All these drivers able to get an extra lap out of the fuel and tyre allowance. Zen did underfuel the car slightly in comparison, didn't completely brim the tank. And there is Floody then in 7th place. Zen is out and has gained time on Nismo. This time Zen has filled the tank. I think may have felt like he got one fewer laps into the stint than he needed to. So he's added some extra fuel, perhaps a full lap's worth of extra fuel into the tank. Try and use these medium tyres then. But it's going to be really interesting as Nismo and Larry both stopped on the same lap as well. I'm going to wait to see Berman come in. But remember, the longer the lap that the drivers race, the bigger the opportunity for the undercut, which means when you pit before the driver, before another driver, you get the opportunity to be on fresh tyres in a really important period, and the time gain is so much greater if you leave it a lap too late. We'll see how it feels on board with Berman at the moment. Let's see if he's struggling at all as we head into a slow corner. What's the braking performance like? The turn in. It's certainly low on fuel. Let's hope it's not too low on fuel. Starting to short shift out of the super slow corner there. But not pushing too hard, not able to push at this stage, but he has, remember, extended this stint by a single lap. That will hopefully help him later on, either in the 3rd stint or if there is to be a 4th stint. It looks like he's not pushing, but he's actually got the purple sector there for the lap. So he is clearly able to extract some speed, as he has looked earlier on like he's got more speed in the car than Zen. But he's just unable to make the overtake. This is really going to punish that outside front tyre on the left, right-hander. Again, another purple sector by nearly 0.2 of a second. I imagine he'll come into the pits now. He has to. He's actually hit 0 on the fuel. Listening into the engine. There it is. He's run out of fuel on the approach, so that has probably cost him more than he's gained on this final lap. He's going to drift into the pit lane, and that is a huge one. Don't Need Time still has the fuel to press the accelerator and head into the pit lane. Let's see if Kamzilla has got the same. Yeah, it's just a slight miscalculation then from Berman. He made it very, very marginal. And into the pits comes our drivers. Everybody else has fuel to spare, but Berman was struggling. So riding on board with Floody as he comes in, he still had a tiny amount of fuel left, maybe a litre or two as he headed towards the pit lane. So I would imagine that that Berman has just cost himself a chance and possibly even cost himself provisional 2nd position. As Nismo comes through, Larry comes through, and in fact Berman is going to exit the pits behind Larry. He's lost 2 positions thanks to losing that those few yards, that 1 turn's worth of fuel run, just about half a sector. Berman there ran with no fuel, and then he has dropped 2 positions, and he's also got a 1.5 seconds of a gap to Larry to catch back. So filling the tank virtually on the medium tyre, and I think he'll leave it 1 fewer laps this time. So he was very marginal, and despite the fact perhaps he just pushed too much on that in lap, but still, the gaps at the front have now opened slightly. Zen, Nismo and Larry are your new provisional podium, with Berman in 4th position. We'll see what that final stint looks like as they got 26 minutes to go. I think they will struggle to bring this home without another splash and dash. Maybe we'll see some soft tyres last 2 laps, but I imagine it'll be another set of mediums for most drivers. What they could have done here is to underfuel and just go super aggressive and spend less time filling the tanks and just split the remainder of the race in half essentially and run with identical stint lengths with the medium tyre. But most drivers have gone for the longer route. Larry, I think, has underfueled, so perhaps he's decided, no, I'm definitely not making the end and I'm not going to be able to run the soft tyres, so I'm going to go 1 lap shorter and get onto the fresh tyres as early as I can. The BMWs are now 2nd and 3rd for the Karate Tortoises. Berman back in 5th place, is losing time actually at this stage from Larry. He was 1.5 seconds, it's now 2.6 seconds on the tyre warm-up phase for him, and Donny time has lost even more. Now 4.6 seconds the deficit here to just to 4th place, 9.5 seconds from the lead of the race, out on the medium tyres again. Kamzilla has managed to leapfrog Glovas and get into that gap, so his in-lap worked versus Glovas. Glovas struggling there to get the heat into the tyres. Everybody back out on the mediums again, the best race tyre, of course. Over the bridge we go. That's Comacopa in 8th. We've got Izzy in 9th. Alexandra's pretty happy that Larry has moved up to 3rd now. Izzy against Junkai. Izzy on the inside in VR, which is a slight disadvantage in terms of race information you've got. Junkai on the controller again, slight disadvantage, especially for those not familiar with it. So Junkai down in 10th position. Larry holding on there. Preston on slightly different strategies at the start of the race. I think will feed into everybody's strategy here. I think he'll be able to use a second set of mediums for him in his final stint, but he will probably stop ahead of the other drivers, perhaps even ahead of Larry or Preston. And a penalty on board with Floodie's Viper, and that's a costly one into the final sector. Mercury trying to catch here. Back of the drivers, but I think he's probably races is almost ruined at trying to pick up any points from any further incidents that might happen later into our race. We have 22.5 minutes to run until the checkered flag falls, and then the drivers will finish the lap they are on. And Zen leads Nismo from Larry, and that is Larry then hanging on to progressive Nismo, not really pressuring Nismo, but running a really good race for the Karate Tortoises, and they dearly needed it because Larry couldn't get a great result in Suzuka. Berman in 4th place, 2.8 seconds behind the podium, and that little spell on with no fuel costing him hugely here, possibly even costing him a podium today when he was battling for the win earlier on. We shall see though. Zen may make a mistake, but in terms of the win, he will be relying on 3 drivers making errors, I think, here, and that's those chances are decreasing and pretty low to start with the high caliber of pilots we have here in Deviant Racing's top tier GT League, the GTDPros. Donny time in 5th. We have Kamzilla passing our camera in 6th, and Glovas in 7th. Comacopa running 8th position. He's getting a lot of seat time in the week at the moment, and running the daily races live streamed. But Comacopa is in 8th place. Junkai running in 9th, Comacopa's teammate in the Porsche. Izzy starting to catch Junkai actually. Junkai's just overtaken Izzy, it seems, but Izzy ready to catch back if he can. Izzy picked up a fantastic overtake in Suzuka, very creative into turn 2. Let's see if he can do the same here in the McLaren. Good all-rounder, that McLaren, to race in. Running out onto the marbles through the long looping right-hander here at the southern tip of the circuit. And he's 0.4 of a second off his best at this stage. Same tyres, very similar strategy for these two. If anything, Izzy is lighter fueled than Junkai. But Junkai finding some good pace then at this stage in the Porsche. Preston, P11, running through those mediums at a fair rate of knots. May only get another lap or two of good performance out of them. And Floody stopping slightly later than Preston. Will certainly pick up a position when Preston pits earlier than him. And a personal best there from Floody as he crosses the line. That was, for him, a 3:07.460. Fastest lies with Larry at this point, at 3:05.317. Let's check in with Larry, though, because there's been a problem for the Karate Tortoise BMW driver. I can't tell if we're going to be able to catch it. Unfortunately not. Clearly some kind of error for Larry, who has dropped down behind Berman now. So there is mistake number 1 that Berman was looking for. And that was a big one for Larry. Berman hasn't lost a lot of time to Nismo. So that is probably 6 seconds that mistake cost Larry. Unfortunately, it's just not possible to give every driver good screen time and catch every single incident. So my apologies, but Larry will probably be somewhat relieved about that anyway. So the Karate Tortoise is no longer 2 drivers on the podium. It is now P2 and P4 for Nismo and Larry. Berman unlocking some pace now, though. He's got hope of a better result, getting onto the podium if he can. As they run through, and we have Nismo running that P2 and closing down now on Zen. And I wonder if Zen is hearing the ominous music playing in his mind. Larry still holds the fastest lap, 3:05.317. That is a good chunk. That's 0.6 of a second faster than Nismo has done so far. Zen has a 3:06.3, so Larry's pace pretty astonishing. If he can run that kind of pace, I think he can get back on to the battle here for the podium. And of course, those tyres will be getting worse, and he has less fuel than most drivers at this stage. Lap 13 so far of what I imagine to be 19, and the drivers are getting through to a really difficult portion of the race then for that front left tyre. Riding on board with Nismo as a passenger. Keep your eye on the mirror to see if you can find Berman. Just see a small dot of white in the background on these straights. See if Zen pits now, but no. Driver's not headed towards the pit lane at this stage. Larry may, just due to the fuel, but no. Again, Larry staying out as well. Let's see if Preston decides to do that. Down in 11th position as he comes through. Big gap right at the back of the grid, but I think we will avoid any lapping situations this race. I think though the field has spread to such an extent though that we probably will have some of the tail runners finishing ahead of the leaders, thanks to the strange system that we've got here. I want to point out a little detail I saw earlier on Izzy's car. Keep your eye on the helmet as we look into the windscreen here. Izzy, not only is he using the VR system, perhaps that wasn't the best view, but there he has a VR helmet sticker on his in-game helmet, if that all makes sense. I did really like that. Let's see if we can get a really good view of it as the car comes closer and closer towards a lower down camera. We should see straight into. You get it? I can see it now, only because I've recognised the PSVR so well. There we go, much better angle then of that VR helmet. Very nice touch from him. I do like that. Just a little extra for him as Comacopa is going full metallic at the moment on the helmet and on the Trolls livery. Wearing the Stars and Stripes on one quarter. Usually runs the French flag on the opposite quarter. There it is. Le tricolore. And so representing both his nationality and his current residency situation. So Komakopa definitely repping really well here for the nations for which he has the closest affinity and involvement. Nismo in second position. Jim saying Team Cannonball is missing Chaotica today, unfortunately. 6 laps to stretch on those mediums. So we'll try and pit now if we want fresh tyres to the end. Nismo is flashing red of fuel already, so I'm sure he will head towards pit lane soon enough. If not this lap, then certainly the next one. Zen is not quite so marginal, but why run on really worn tyres when you don't have to at any stage of this race, I think will be the attitude. So I'm expecting lap 14, this will be the lap that most drivers will come in for their final set of medium tyres and the final portion of fuel. That means that Zen will be refueling for a couple seconds less than, a couple seconds fewer I should say, than Nismo. If they do come in now, just to make sure that they can round out this race really nicely. But 14 minutes on the clock, just under. And through we come, out of the final corner and cutting it quite tight, keeping it tight, and into the pit lane go our 3 leaders. Larry is certain to come in, very marginal on the front left. And then in comes Don't Need Time, Camzilla. Now, the one slight problem here today, I think, has been that everybody has ended up making the same strategic decisions with the exception of Preston. This also means that pitting is happening all at the same time. Glovas has kept his tyres in really good condition, though, and probably the only driver running into this 15th lap. Possibly Preston will get a couple places, but that will be short-lived. Can Glovas make this in-lap work better than the other drivers do on colder tyres on their outlaps? And can he regain some time and maybe, by extension, a position or two as a result of that? Here he comes to come on through. So Glovas through the double right-hander, as Arcane is rather happy to see Glovas up here. I think Arcane, because he's in the same colour scheme today as the safety car driver, will go through. And Glovas then, how are his sectors looking at this stage? He's got plenty of fuel on board, perhaps slightly too much fuel for this final lap here on the mediums. As I said before, why run the mediums any longer than you have to if you can't use the softs? And I don't think the softs will work for more than a lap. Kicking out some gravel. The other drivers will not help be surprised, Arcane, but it's possible if Glovas goes for the softs. He'd have to go around again here on these mediums, and then he would be quick. But will he lose too much time on a further lap on that front left? That is looking a lot poorer than the other drivers are on at this stage. His gap to Berman, 19 seconds. Berman has leapfrogged Zen through the pits process by shorter fueling than Zen did. That's really interesting. That's a gamble from Berman. Usually Zen and Nismo know their fuel loads perfectly. Berman rolling the dice here, going for some clean air on that splitter and trying to dictate the pace of the race and make sure that he can get this car home. The Lexus will be a little bit less thirsty than Zen and Nismo's Ferraris and BMWs. Boy, that's a pretty big chance he's taking here. Glovas coming through. Let's see if he can make this lap really count. We want a lap for Glovas close to or better than his personal best so far. And it's some distance away. It's 2 seconds slower than his best. So I'm not sure whether that tyre is really giving him what he needs here on this in-lap to gain the positions. But it's going to be really interesting what tyres he goes on to. And we'll try and keep track of that as we have just over 10.5 minutes left to run before the checkered flag comes out. for drivers to finish the lap that they are on. The net lead of this race is now with Berman and the Lexus for Team Pike Fitness as he crests over the rise, heading towards the final corner of the lap. 15. I think we have 4 to go in total for the majority of the drivers. Nismo, let's just see if Nismo actually hit the wall there coming through, because it looks like Clubhouse has definitely pitted. Let's see. That's right on board with Nismo, checking out this corner here. As he goes very, very wide to try and elongate the corner, misses the apex. Oh, nasty sound on board for him. So yes, indeed, clattering into the wall, but hitting it side on and not causing any damage to his BMW apart from his pride. And he's pushing incredibly hard here. He really would like this win, despite the fact that he's leading the championship. Does not want to give up any kind of performance edge here. Don't Need Time is in 4th place. Glovas has come out of the pits and he's come onto the medium, so no major tyre advantage here. But with 4 laps to go, or thereabouts, 3 or 4 laps at this point in the field, I just don't see it happening for them. So let's see. No one is far and away out in front and could therefore shorten the race for their own run. Larry has deposed down to 6th place, dropped behind both Genesis drivers at this stage. So that sort of 3rd of 4 stints was really strong for Larry after the restart, but this one less so. Has obviously not been able to quite hang with the guys at the front of the field. Don't Need Time in 4th, Glovas in 5th, Larry in 6th position. Berman still holding the lead though, ahead of Zen and Nismo. Down further we have Camzilla, still in with a shout of that 4th or 5th position, out there in 7th. John Kai has just got ahead of his teammate Komakopa through that pit sequence. Komakopa down into 9th place now, and then we've got Preston in 10th on a conventional tyring strategy at this stage of the race, with Izzy down in 11th, Floody in 12th. Mercury still very much at the back and some distance away. I'm sure he will finish before the end of lap, on the end of lap 18. Berman leads us by 3.1 seconds. He is not taking his time with the fuel here. He is absolutely full send with a fastest sector through sector 4. Through sector 3. Let's see if he can find the performance. Zen has lost out here in a big way in comparison to Nismo, who is chasing him down. Berman comes to cross the timing beam to finish out sector 4. Is he still on? Yes, he is, on brand new tyres, still on a purple, and that means best of the race so far. Lap just got really 1 corner to go as Berman to beat Larry's 305.317 that he holds at this stage. Let's see him through that final corner then, as it doesn't look like Nismo is going to strike for an overtake on his former teammate Zen. Comes out of the final corner does Berman, expecting a purple, and it is purple. 305.214 takes the fastest lap away from the Karate Tortoises and Larry, and picks up the provisional extra score, then extra point scored. Zen far more interested in holding on to 2nd than he is in challenging for 1st position at this stage. This is Nismo with a good run out of the corner. Zen then just leaning towards the middle of the track. Nismo moving around in Zen's mirrors, as he has every right to do, and then losing the car slightly in the dirty air on the approach to the long left-hand section here. Then we've got a double right coming up for him. And of course it's a clockwise circuit, so the outside left tyre gets more worn on the front. The drivers will try to manage the tyre wear front to back axle using the brake balance, but you've just got to take it easier through those right-handers if you want to save your front left. There's really much else you can do about it. Don't Need Time and Glovas in 4th and 5th positions. Still teammates here trying to outdo each other. The only 2 teammates close together on the circuit, I think, now, and that Jun Kai is probably building a gap ahead of Komakopa, and that Larry has fallen back in comparison to Nismo. This is Nismo then chasing down Zen. And for Zen, well, Berman has extended his lead to nearly 5 seconds. So his approach here is to build the gap and then manage the gap in the final few laps, I think. But he has less fuel than anybody else, does Berman. Either he's got this right and his rivals have got it very wrong and played it too safe, or we're going to have a problem later on for Berman with the fuel management. So just catching up on the chat here, Jim saying that we need a gap of 25 seconds for a pit stop to include the fuel tyre change. If you did want to use soft tyres at the end of the race, try and nab that fastest lap. I don't think that option is really open to anybody, with the exception of possibly our rear runner Mercury. Berman 5 seconds then in the lead, ahead of Zen here and Nismo. Let's check in with Don't Need Time and with Glovas. Don't Need Time's gap 1.1 seconds to Glovas, which is actually about the same as Larry's gap behind Glovas, and I think behind Larry is 1.6 to Camzilla. John Kai ahead of teammate Common Coper by 2.1 seconds, and then a big gap of 11 seconds from Comacopa in 9th to Preston in 10th place. Izzy is 3.5 seconds behind Preston, about 3 seconds ahead of Floody. Floody is 40.6 ahead of Mercury. This is Berman then, with 3 minutes and 47 to go as he crosses the line. So I think that unless he slows the car right down on this 18th lap, we will go through to a 19th for him. So just find out where Mercury is. He will easily have to finish on lap 18. He may even decide to stop ahead of starting lap 18 for himself. But hopefully he will finish up, because obviously he writes off any chance of profiting from a late race low fuel issue for anybody else if he does that. Zen's in second, starting to deal with Nismo's pace, I think, here at this point. This is, I think, the closest battle for the best points on the circuit, as the sun is starting to set. The lights have come on here in Saint Croix, burning past the camera and then off throttle, flames spitting out of the side-mounted exhausts of the BMW. Out onto the grass once again. Nismo quite comfortable with those lines. Many drivers wouldn't be. Pushing very hard indeed. How's Berman's fuel looking? It's coming on to a quarter of a tank. He's got to start thinking about that fuel management, I would imagine. He had his moment in the sun there to set the fastest lap of the race, 3:04. 3:04.935 was the previous lap. Another new fastest lap from Berman. Actually got into the 3:04s here, but I imagine he's now dialing back the pace. The gap behind to Zen, 5 seconds. He will definitely know that he has to go round again. He won't finish so far ahead that he can finish on this 18th lap. 4.8 seconds, and he suffered fuel issues earlier on. Ran out of fuel. Surely he would have put a little bit of extra in for comfort than he felt he needed after that issue of running low fuel mode. Now this gap down to 0.4 of a second only between Nismo and Zen. Know each other very well, of course, but will they come to do some battling for us as we close in to the final stretch of this race? Who's your money on between Nismo and Zen? Form book says Nismo, but we'll see if the Ferrari is in a better shape here for the final lap over the BMW. Berman then will go across the line now to start his final lap with 50 seconds to go on the clock. Yes, he has definitely dialed the pace right back to a 3:07, as Zen is running in a similar pace now, and Nismo comes through. See if everybody across the line. This is Glovas versus Don't Need Time. Glovas has gone up the inside of Don't Need Time. but he's not quite got the overtake. Don't need time still. They are super close, these two. Closer still, I think, than even Nismo and Zen. That was Larry in the background. Not going to feature in this battle for P4, but potentially Glovas will. As he is taking a wider line here, struggling in the dirty air of his teammate. Camzilla comes through, just going to catch if anybody is going to finish late. We've got some drivers running out of fuel. That's Preston right out of fuel, and has mismanaged his gap to the end. Mercury could pick up a position. I don't think he will though. No, Preston finishes in 12th place. Or has he actually crossed the line? That is going to be a painful lap to come through, but Mercury will have nothing he can do about it. Mercury is about to take his checkered flag in a moment, but I don't want to miss a move for the big points here. P4, the battle, don't need time, and Glovas. P2, the battle, Zen and Nismo as they come through on this final lap. And Berman is having to sip the fuel now, down to 4.5 seconds. Has he made a miscalculation? We will find out later in this lap. We'll see if he's on low fuel mode as well. On red, he is on red, having gone through the first 2 sectors of this race into the 3rd sector, and he's having to bring that pace right down now. This is going to be super embarrassing if he's run out of fuel twice in the same race, but don't need time in 4th. Glovas in 5th, and nose to tail come these great teammates here for the Team Chameleon racers. 4.4 seconds, so Berman not bringing the pace all the way down, but surely Zen and Nismo can see that they're getting closer to Berman. 4.2 seconds it is now. Berman will be short shifting, he'll be lifting and coasting on the way into these slow corners. Let's have a look. Well, he's not really. He's not lifting the throttle too much, and then we'll see him again, still not short shifting. I think he feels quite confident he'll make it to the end of the race without an issue. Don't need time is not under threat here from Glovas. Back towards Nismo and Zen as the pendulum swings. It's these two who look like they're going to be the closest battle to the finish. Berman's gap 4 seconds clear. I think he'll do it. He's certainly got more fuel than the last time he ran out of fuel, and he's close. Berman is coming towards the final corner of the race. It is last chance saloon for Nismo, for don't need time, and Glovas. Zen defends to the inside. Berman goes through the final corner. Zen hooks the inside line. Nismo with a faster run around the outside in the final corner. Nismo's going to take 2nd place, and Berman secures the win here in St. Croix in round 5. But Nismo picks up those extra points right at the finish. What a finish for Nismo. Don't need time in 4th. Glovas finishing in 5th place. Larry bringing home the points for Gautier-Thornton in 6th. And Camzilla, the lead Team America driver in the Dodge Viper, in 7th place. We have Comacopa, who will come through to take home a hard-earned 8th position ahead of teammate Junkai, who looks like he's run out of fuel too. Junkai having to reverse the positions between the Porsche drivers for the Trolls. And then we have Floody in P10, who's going to come through. Will he have the fuel to finish? I think he will. What a finish from Nismo. That was astonishing. Definitely move of the race. Webbo's move of the race today. Will it hold to be move of the day? We shall see. Don't forget, we're going to the GTD series straight after this race. I will have to do some work on the old vocal cords because they almost blew going around there as Izzy finishes in something of style, though it would have been better to keep it out of the barrier. Preston will come round into with the slowest lap he will have ever run. He ran out of fuel before the start of lap 19. I don't think we've got time to watch to watch Preston finish the race, but what a brilliant finish there for Berman, who takes the pole position and a clean race and victory points. Didn't quite get the fastest lap, but just avoided the embarrassment of running out of fuel twice. Berman, perfect calculation, you'd have to say. Sonic the Hedgehog on the back, and he came home with all the rings at the finish. Berman wins then. He did get the fastest lap in the end. Game should have really told me that. But anyway, he got it 3:04.935. Nismo finishing the tiny margin ahead of Zen with the move around the outside of the final corner. Zen in 3rd, don't need time in 4th ahead of his teammate Glovas. Larry in 6th, and Camzilla in 7th. Comacopa in 8th. We have coming up then Junkai in 9th, Floody in 10th, Izzy in 11th. Preston, very, very, very slow 12th place. He's still running, in fact, still out there. And Mercury in 13th. Our Saito drove our safety car today, and with thanks to him, with thanks to everyone who has contributed to the chat today. Hi to Bummy as well, who's showed up. My teammate and Jim. Who enjoyed that one. We're getting ready then for the GTDs any moment. I'm just going to leave the standings up because on this broadcast we won't have seen them, but they're not. These are. It's race day.
Welcome, race fans, to a showcase of driving perfection. My name's Webbo, and let's get down trackside. Hold on tight. We're gonna go for it. Boom! That's how it's done. Whoa! Easy! Surely not all the way around the outside.